Hello, and welcome to Assembly Bethesda On Air, hosted by me, Hayne Fogarty. Today we're diving deep into a fascinating and often overlooked topic, forgotten fasts, extreme ascetic practices in hidden orders. Now, I know what you might be thinking, fasting? But trust me, this isn't just about skipping a meal. We're talking about incredibly intense forms of spiritual discipline that shaped faith for centuries. Asceticism has been around for ages, a profound way for people in religious contexts to step back from everyday pleasures and really focus on the spiritual side of things. It involves self-discipline, simple living, and often pushing the body through practices like fasting to get closer to the divine. In Christianity, this draws directly from powerful examples in the Bible. Remember Jesus' own fast in the wilderness? As it says in the NIV, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry." Matthew 4:1-2. That kind of endurance really set a pattern for later followers who wanted to emulate that same level of commitment and spiritual intensity. It's truly remarkable.
So, where did these extreme practices really take root? Well, early on, in the 3rd century, a truly remarkable group emerged, the Desert Fathers. These were Christian hermits who left the bustling cities of Rome and Egypt, choosing instead to live in the harsh, silent deserts. They sought solitude and a deeper, unfiltered connection with God. Imagine that, leaving everything behind for the vast emptiness. Places like Nitria, Kellia, and Scetis became these hidden hubs, almost secret cities where thousands gathered over time, creating communities of profound devotion. Their practices were intense, renouncing not just material goods, but basic comforts we take for granted. Fasting was central, often limited to just bread and water once a day, or sometimes extended periods without food entirely. It was all about disciplining the body and mind. They combined this with constant prayer, singing psalms, manual labor, and acts of charity, all while living in harmony and directing every single thought toward God. Antony the Great is often seen as the pioneer, living in caves and tombs, battling temptations through truly rigorous abstinence. What an incredible testament to faith.
As these communities grew, they blended different styles: solitary hermits, small groups, and organized monasteries under leaders like Pachomius. His rules included fasting twice a week, silent communal meals, and long prayer sessions. The idea was that by withdrawing into these hidden desert spots, away from worldly distractions, they could achieve spiritual perfection. It was like an alternative to martyrdom in a time when persecution was easing up, but the desire for sacrifice remained incredibly strong. But then, some took it to a whole new level: the stylites. These were ascetics who lived atop pillars as a form of extreme mortification. Can you even imagine that? This started with Simeon Stylites the Elder in Syria around 423 AD. He climbed a pillar and stayed there for 36 years, preaching to crowds below, praying incessantly, and fasting with whatever simple food his followers provided, often just bread or vegetables. No protection from the weather, no easy way down. It was all about enduring privation to save the soul and draw others to faith. Followers like Daniel the Stylite continued this, living on pillars for decades. Saint Alypius even stood upright for 53 years before his legs finally gave out. These pillar dwellers often started in remote hidden areas, making their practices part of those truly forgotten traditions that blended isolation with public witness. Talk about dedication.
Well, the desert was brewing with these incredible practices. In Europe, monastic orders carried on similar ideas, often in hidden forest or mountain retreats. Benedict of Nursia, for example, founded the Benedictine order in the 6th century, with monasteries emphasizing vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. Fasting was routine, meals simple and vegetarian, with abstinence from meat and extended fasts during seasons like Lent. These spots were designed to be secluded, fostering deep prayer and work. Francis of Assisi and the Franciscans added a twist, embracing absolute poverty and wandering, but still retreating to hermitages for intense fasting periods. And in the Orthodox world, Mount Athos became a major center from the 10th century, with lavras, clusters of cells where monks practiced perpetual fasting, vigils, and silence in semi-hidden settings. What's interesting is that these practices weren't without guidelines. Early church figures warned against going too far, like chaining oneself to rocks or eating only grass, as it could lead to pride or health issues. Figures like Barsanuphius of Gaza emphasized balance, ensuring asceticism served spiritual growth, not self-aggrandizement. Still, in hidden orders, extremes persisted, like anchorites who were literally walled into church cells, receiving minimal food through slits, fasting rigorously while praying the divine office. And let's not forget the women. Women played crucial roles too, known as desert mothers. Mary of Egypt lived alone in the Jordan Desert for 47 years, surviving on wild plants after a profound conversion, combining fasting with repentance. Syncletica of Alexandria taught on the virtues of ascetic life, stressing humility alongside abstinence. Their stories are just as powerful, aren't they?
As Christianity evolved, these extreme fasts became less common, regulated by the church to prevent excess, but traces certainly remained. Medieval hermits continued in forests and caves, fasting for weeks, while orders like the Carthusians, founded in the 11th century, kept incredibly strict routines in isolated charter houses with individual cells and multiple fasting days weekly. Orthodox fasting, to this day, remains extensive, covering nearly half the year with abstinences that echo those ancient ways. The essence of these forgotten fasts ties back to profound biblical calls for endurance. Think about Paul in the NIV when he says, "Rather, as servants of God, we commend ourselves in every way, in great endurance, in troubles, hardships and distresses, in beatings, imprisonments and riots, in hard work, sleepless nights, and hunger." 2 Corinthians 6:4-5. Hidden orders provided safe spaces for such intensity, protected from outside interference. In Catholic tradition, fasting represses lower appetites, building self-control. As Paul notes in the NIV, "I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize." 1 Corinthians 9:27. Today, remnants exist in modern retreats, where people seek echoes of that ancient discipline. The hidden aspect allowed for unparalleled focus, preserving these traditions through centuries. These stories highlight how faith drove people to extremes, not for show, but for genuine transformation. It's a powerful reminder of the discipline in spiritual pursuits. Thank you for joining me today. As always, it is a pleasure to spend this time with you. God bless, and until next time, courage.